Well, now it's a pleasure to welcome Dr. Hariolf Kottmann, who is the CEO of Clariant and also the President of the European Chemical Industry Council and the International Council of Chemical Associations. Dr. Kottmann is also Foundation President of the Clariant Foundation. Dr. Kottmann is responsible for corporate planning and strategy, sustainability and regulatory affairs, group communications, human resources, investor relations, group senior management development, as well as Clariant excellence in its entirety, with a special focus on people excellence. So now I'm delighted to welcome and invite Dr. Kottmann to deliver the welcome keynote address.
Thank you, Dr. Kottmann. It's a pleasure. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about the transformation of the chemical industry, a topic that seems of utmost importance for many of us. The chemical industry has a long history, and we are proud to have contributed to the growth and development of all main regions of the world over the last decades. We are not only industries and companies, but also citizens. Our products have helped to build the quality of life and prosperity we enjoy today. The chemical industry is the enabler of all other industries and the enabler of modern life. The chemical industry is facing numerous megatrends like globalization, urbanization, mobility, or digitalization. The question how these trends should be tackled in the ongoing transformation can be seen, I would say, from different angles. In my presentation, I will take a look at several aspects. Number one, I'll start with an overview how the chemical industry has transformed so far. Number two, I will elaborate on the key challenges for the future with regard to our transformation, mainly productivity, consolidation, responsibility, innovation, and digitalization. Although chemicals were made and used throughout history, the birth of the chemical industry itself came more or less with the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in general. The industry started very much like a high-tech startup company today, with brilliant ideas of scientists. A lot of them failed, but some succeeded as scientific discoveries that led to new molecules and to new products. Europe and later the US were the first movers and the birthplace of many chemicals innovations. By the 1920s, chemical enterprises consolidated into large multi-division companies. Examples are IG Farben in Germany or ICCA in the UK. The scope of these companies was now to upscale processes from laboratory to production. These two first phases of foundation and development of the chemical industry were then followed by expansion and diversification in the 50s and 70s. Products were substituted or internalized, and the product range broadened. At the same time, the multinational companies appeared on the scene and were transforming into conglomerates. In the 80s, with rising global competition, chemical companies focused on restructuring and price cost squeeze, which led to an industry structure of consolidated multi-business chemical companies. And finally, in the last 20 years, our industry was impacted by shareholder value, which led to a focus on financial returns and increasing M&A activities. In this time frame, new players showed up, mainly from emerging markets. Ladies and gentlemen, the enormous growth over the last century in economic terms, energy demand, and population was accompanied by an even larger growth in the chemical industry. Long-term analysis shows that overall growth in chemical demand and production, as well as faster growth in emerging regions, are trends that are expected to continue in the future. The industry has not only the potential to more than double until 2030, but more importantly will again have the opportunity to unleash its full potential. The world landscape of the chemical industry is changing rapidly. China is planning an ambitious industrial policy strategy to take its chemical industry to the next stage of development. A strategy outlined in the 13th Five-Year Plan on the Chinese petroleum and chemical industry. The share of specialty chemicals in total chemicals will significantly increase. And bio-based chemicals will be more than 20% of chemical sales, a shift that is primarily driven by the sustainability consideration of our consumers. That leads me to the central part of my keynote. How will our industry further transform? And what are the main challenges? There are some key points, I think, to be discussed in this context. Our industry has been a front runner for more than 15 years now. In the stock markets, we have outperformed our customers and our suppliers due to a strong earnings, which showed a positive development. Some of the reasons for that were our extremely sound fundamentals and functional excellence. But one of the most important pillars is industry conduct. And I say this for the 30 years old, 40 and 50-year-old colleagues sitting around. The strongest pillar for profitability, prosperity, and growth in our industry is mutual trust and respectful treatment. That's industry conduct. And in addition, the rise of the Chinese economy, as well as the shale gas boom in the US, gave us further backwinds. So what comes next? First of all, it might be that, let me say in a chemical way, entropy wins and life reverts to normal. What does this mean? In our industry, we some hints that indicates that some transformations may end where they began. Let me share some examples. Specialty chemicals are under an increasing commoditization trend. Feedstock is getting more to a level playing field, and our industry is becoming more regional again. Secondly, creating value will become more difficult because we are facing a lot of questions and nobody can really answer them today. Who knows how and when the Chinese chemical industry will consolidate? Will the Middle Eastern chemical industry really go downstream? Will the digital transformation also change the nature of our industry? And the third aspect, if we just use textbook solutions to tackle the future, we will fail, because standard recipes are always wrong. The main challenges we have to cope with are the following one. Number one, it's productivity. Our companies will only be successful in the future if we win the productivity game, which is linked to our workforce. The chemical industry workforce is more qualified, well-trained and better paid than the average industrial worker. Highly educated and trained employees, coupled with continuously high investments in the workforce, have turned, for example, the EU chemical sector into a leading industry in terms of high labor productivity. As a consequence, between 2002 and 2014, labor productivity in the European Union chemical industry rose at an average annual rate of 2.3%. Another challenge is consolidation, because size matters also in our industry. The increasing dynamics and complexity of our industry is driving consolidation mainly through merger and acquisitions. During the past years, the deal value and the number of transactions in chemical industry have strongly increased. Between 2010 and 2014, we saw transactions with a value of more than 240 billion US dollar in almost 2,700 cases. And according to data from consulting companies in 2016 alone, nearly 1,200 deals valued at more than 380 billion US dollar were announced, including the blockbusters such as Bayer Monsanto or Dow DuPont. Through M&A, the share of emerging market mega players within the top 10 in our industry in terms of revenue has risen tremendously. Just think about Cefic, ChemChina, or Sinochem. But also smaller companies can survive if they are highly specialized. Another challenge is responsibility. A smarter and more sustainable chemistry is something that I hope all of us have on our agenda. But it is also still true that the chemical industry is amongst the most energy-intensive ones. We also deal with toxic and explosive substances, and we often can only partially control the usage of our products by our customers. Also, the impact we can have in other industry sectors is much larger than on our own turf. As I mentioned already in the beginning, more than 95% of all manufactured goods worldwide are touched by chemistry in some form. Therefore, there is a clear need for ethics and sustainability in our industry, and also rank high on the political agenda. It is obvious that politics and industry need to work hand in hand to increase sustainability. Cefic, for example, supports the vision of the Paris Climate Agreement for a more sustainable future, as well as the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The Paris Agreement gives us the flexible framework to manage climate change while providing a smooth transition for our businesses. We support the European Commission's ambition to develop a sustainable, low-carbon and climate-friendly economy, a vision outlined in its Energy Union package issued in 2015 and its Clean Energy package published last year. The last challenge I'd like to mention are innovation and digitalization. Historically, our industry was volume and technology driven. For a long time, we did not really ask what our customer needed. We just developed something, and then we tried to find someone who wanted it, and we sold it. Today, we translate knowledge and ideas into new products, services, business models, and processes tailored to customer and market needs. Many companies have research networks with decentralized hubs, application labs all over the world in order to be closer to their customers. The R&D budgets have increased globally within the last 10 years, and China is surpassing every other region. And great ideas come from everywhere, from large corporations to small startups or even the garage. Companies, therefore, are driving activities in the field of open innovation or cooperation with academia. Another source for innovation is digitalization. Digitalization will significantly change the way we innovate, produce, and do business in our industry. The most immediate impact will be on the way we execute our business. This relates to the idea of operational excellence. Digitalization, for example, facilitates the analysis of production data that can easily be used to increase productivity in terms of yield, energy, and throughput. Let's just think about smart technologies and smart manufacturing in particular. They are often summarized in the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution, known as Industry 4.0. This brings together advanced technologies like the Internet of Things, advanced analytics, artificial intelligence, or robotics. From my point of view, some technologies can be seen as a lever for our industry to improve productivity and to generate new revenues. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude. Our industry is becoming increasingly dynamic, competitive, and customer-focused. We can build on sound fundamentals because our industry is a key enabler of life and the basis for a high living standard. Nevertheless, since the late 1990s, our environment has gotten more competitive, demanding, and challenging. If we want to be successful in the future, we have to win the productivity game. Chemical companies will be either small and highly specialized or large and more diversified. Our volume and technology-driven business will increasingly turn innovative if we see digitalization as a chance rather than a threat. And because dealing with chemicals requires a great deal of responsibility, our industry has to adhere to global standards. In the end, sustainability will turn out as a competitive advantage for chemical companies. The trend and challenges I described in this presentation will not change our industry overnight. They will, however, fundamentally change over time. And this is what we have to be aware, since investments in the chemical industry are long-term. But we have also to be aware a new journey begins. Thank you for your attention.